Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast Patreon exclusive content episode. I'm your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder, and once again, it's great to have you guys here on this Tuesday. So just got wrapped up with the live portion of today's show. We had a lot to discuss. We recapped last night's game between the Cowboys and the Chargers. We went through the power rankings that were released this week, talked about the Lions and whether or not I think they're Super Bowl contenders. And then we went through the current standings after this past week. So, discussed a lot. One of the main topics, really, well, the main topic, besides the power rankings, was talking about the Lions. Because I did get a comment on one of my videos. And, it was basically saying, like, why do you have them a notch below, the Lions a notch below the Eagles and the 49ers? And again, I think a lot of it has to do with hesitancy because I just view the Eagles and the 49ers as the two best teams in the NFC. These are both teams that played each other in the NFC Championship game, although it was kind of, lopsided because Brock Purdy got injured very early into that game, and the 49ers really were never in that game. I mean, they did have that touchdown drive to tie it at 7, but, they were really... They really were never really in that game, and the Eagles really dominated them. So I want to see how the game goes when they play each other late in the season, because that'll be very telling. But and with the Lions, I still have my concerns with their defense. Obviously, Jared Goff against some of these better teams, how is he going to fare against them? Because we've seen Jared Goff have very bad games in the NFL as well. So, that's something that I look at, and, I have some concerns there, of course. But the Lions' defense has looked good the last couple of weeks, although many people can point at the level of competition that they've gone up against. I mean, the Packers look like a team that might not be very good this year, even though I view them as maybe being I did view them as being a wild card. The Bucs, I mean, I was kind of, feeling myself a little bit with how positive I was with them, and then they kind of went out and just did not really do anything against the Lions. So it's that's why that's why I would say I'd put them a notch below. Now, and again, it depends on how I guess you maybe interpret what a notch may mean, because maybe your definition of a notch is different than how I am saying notch. Maybe, I don't know. But, yeah, and especially with the power rankings, they had, that were released this week. I mean, they had the Lions ranked over the Phillies. The Eagles, we'll talk about the Phillies on Friday. Make sure to tune in. GSMC Baseball Podcast. They had the Lions ranked over the Eagles. And I mean, the Eagles against the Jets, they put up 14 points in the first half, and then in the second half they did nothing. They did nothing. So and Jalen Hurts threw 3 interceptions. Eagles turned the ball over 4 times in that game. DeAndre Swift had a fumble. So there's definitely some concerns there for the Eagles. I mean, there's definitely been times this year where they just haven't looked. They've looked off. But I don't know. I mean, I think for a team that made it to the Super Bowl last year, it's hard for me, to put the Lions ahead. And again, for the Lions, a team that didn't make the playoffs last year, finished 9-8, and I don't know. I just still had the Eagles and the Niners, in their own. I mean, I had the Niners by themselves. The Eagles are by themselves, in second. Lions, I still would put in third in the NFC. But I think they kind of closed the gap a little bit, especially after this week and how the Eagles and the Niners performed. I think the gap's getting closer, and the Lions defense, I think, is going to continue to improve. So before you know it, they're going to be right there with those two teams, and they're getting closer. The other thing too is, the Lions have the same record now as both of these teams. So the Lions could very well maybe, get the top spot in the NFC or at least one of the top two spots in the NFC if one of these teams slips up. So we'll see what happens. The Niners and the Eagles play each other this year, so one of those teams is going to lose unless they tie, which I don't see happening. But if that ends up happening, all right, knock on wood, there have been no ties so far this year. So I really hope that continues because I do not like ties at all. I think they need to fix something with that because ties are the worst, and I think we need to get rid of them. So I just wanted to throw that out there as well. But yeah, listen, I don't think any of these teams are gonna go. I don't think any of these teams are gonna finish with one loss. They're going to lose, 2 more games, 3 more games maybe. The Niners might lose maybe 1 or 2 more. Eagles might lose, same thing. Lions, we'll see. But honestly, after this week, again, any given Sunday, because, not many people had the Eagles and the Niners losing this week, especially the Niners because they had a backup quarterback playing, and PJ Walker was playing, and the Browns ended up winning the game, which I just was incredible. But again, it's because the teams they went up against had 2 very good defenses. Jets defense is very good. Browns defense is very good. Now, if the Lions defense can continue to improve, well, you got a solid defense there, but unlike the Browns and the Jets who beat the Eagles and the 49ers on Sunday, the Lions have a very good offense. So if you're shutting down, the Niners offense and the Eagles offense, and you got a very good offense of your own, and you're able to, move the ball against their defenses, you got a great chance. But again, you got to see, I got to see when these teams play each other. I don't think I got to look at the Lions' schedule here. The Eagles, they play the Niners this year. We know that. I don't think the Lions play either team. We'll take a quick look here. So the Lions, they got the Ravens next week. That's a tough game in Baltimore. Then they got the Raiders, the Chargers, the Bears, the Packers, at the Saints, Bears, Broncos, Vikings, Cowboys, Vikings. Listen, a lot of winnable games on their schedule, a lot. So, they could have the top 2. They could have a top 2 seed in the NFC. There's a lot of winnable games there because the Vikings aren't very good. The Bears aren't good. Packers, we saw what they did against them in Lambeau. Now they're going to be playing them on Thanksgiving. What are they going to do against them then? You gotta like the Lions. Got to. Obviously, I'd like to see them play the Eagles or the Niners. And it's kind of funny because the last 2 years, they actually opened up the season against both of those teams. 2021, they opened up against the Niners, and they actually were down by a lot against them, and they almost came back. And then last year, they were down against the Eagles, and they almost came back against them too. And Jared Goff was the quarterback for both of those teams. Now, obviously, it's a different year, but the Lions are a very good team. They have built a very good team. They got a young team, a lot of playmakers. I think you got to give them a lot of respect, and we'll see what they can do moving forward. And for the Eagles and the Niners, can they get back on track? Yeah, I think they will. I have more concerns with the Eagles, though, as opposed to the Niners. Like, right now, the Niners are dealing with some injuries. I mean, we don't know what the status is with McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel. But the Eagles, they're I have some concerns there. Because there's definitely something off with them. They definitely look like somewhat of a different team than they were last year. I mean, listen, Jalen Hurts is still playing well other than this past Sunday. But, something's a little off with them. So, and I think the Lions, a team like them, can take advantage of that. So, we'll see what they could do. I mean, the Eagles, they got a really tough game Sunday night, although they are at home against the Dolphins. So, I mean, that's a game I'm really excited for. That's going to be a great game. Niners, they play the Vikings on Monday night, which, you thought it would be tougher with because you thought Justin Jefferson was going to be playing. But now he's not going to be playing. And, heck, you might be without Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey. So that kind of changes that game, too. From the Niners side. So, but I think the Niners, I think both teams are going to be fine. But I don't know. The Lions, they're definitely making some noise. So, and then also we talked about last night's game, of course. I said it was very sluggish. And it just kind of was. There wasn't a lot of points being scored. I mean, you thought this game was going to be high scoring. Both offenses, you got a lot of playmakers for them. But that wasn't the case. It was very low scoring. What was the score of the game from a couple of years ago? Because they played each other in 2021. Let's see. No way. That game actually also was 20-17 Cowboys. Wow. I didn't know. Wow, that's crazy. So, last night's game was 20-17, and this game was 20-17, and both of these games took place at SoFi. Wow, that's crazy. Same score as the last time they played each other. And the Cowboys actually were up 14-3 in that game after I just looked after the first quarter. But yeah, I mean, for both teams, like. And watching, television, and it's like, with some of the people you watch, and you're like, and they're acting like the Cowboys are back, and it's just like, no. Cowboys got a lot of tough games on their schedule. I mean, they got the Bills and the Dolphins back-to-back weeks. They play the Lions, so we'll see how the Lions and the Cowboys stack up against each other. You got the Eagles twice, Commanders offensively could be a problem. I mean, listen, the Cowboys, I think they'll make the playoffs, but I don't think they're not going to finish with a great record. They might win 10 games and get in as a wild card, but I just, I don't see it with them. I don't. And again, I was getting nervous, but again, you look at the teams that they just obliterated, Patriots, the Jets. Well, Jets are 3-3, so I don't really know how to. I honestly don't even know how to interpret that game. I really don't. The Giants, the Chargers, I mean, listen, that's a team that you should beat. It would be competitive because I still give them respect because they, what they can do on offense. But yeah, I don't view the Cowboys as more than maybe the fourth or fifth best team in the NFC. I just don't. I really, especially after that blowout loss to the 49ers. I mean, that basically told you all you need to know with what the Cowboys are as a football team. So, I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. But there's some criticism with with the Chargers with Justin Herbert at quarterback. Oh, that scared me. Yeah. So I don't know if somebody came home or something, but yeah, dogs barking. So hopefully, I was hoping we actually were doing very well with that lately, but that's not the case. Yeah. So, but with Justin Herbert, not really. People are kind of looking at him and thinking, it's leaving you left. You want to see more out of Justin Herbert. Listen, you look at Justin Herbert. I mean, Justin Herbert to me is still one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I remember though last year, someone called him a social media quarterback. It's just, and again this year with Justin Fields, somebody called him a YouTube quarterback. It's just like, I mean, what are we doing? Just naming guys, putting these names on some of these guys, but. I don't know. For me, Justin Herbert is a good quarterback, but yeah, I think he does leave you wanting more out of him because you see, like, because he throws some very good passes. He did miss some throws yesterday. I mean, a lot of that could also deal with him being, not totally 100%. But I don't know. I feel like he is the answer there at quarterback. I think they need to get him the right head coach. But yeah, I understand. Like the Chargers have blown a lot of leads. I mean, last year the playoff game against Jacksonville, that was very bad. And it's funny because I just wasn't surprised by it. I was just like, yeah, I've seen this before. Like like ever since the Patriots came back from that 28-3, deficit in the Super Bowl. All these leads that, teams get, like, teams blow, like, I'm not really that impressed by it. Which, again, it's great, but I'm just like, I've seen it before. I'm not really impressed by it. It's like, how can you top a 28-3 deficit? I mean, again, like, I still don't understand how it happened, but I don't know how teams do that. I really don't. But and she's still barking. Yeah. But anyways, yeah, the Chargers with Justin Herbert, yeah, you're kind of left with seeing you want to see more out of him. So yeah, I'm hoping the barking stops eventually cuz it's kind of distracting me. But yeah. But Cowboys, yeah, they go into the bye week feeling good. Chargers 2-3. Now they got a tough game against the Chiefs. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But I mean, if Herbert has a game like he had against the Cowboys, I mean, with the Chiefs defense and how they've been playing, I mean, they could definitely capitalize on some of the mistakes that Herbert makes. But, I mean, the Chiefs, they got some problems of their own offensively. So yeah, and then obviously, we went through, the standings, the power rankings. I mean, who was the worst team in football? Like, I mean, they're, like, the Panthers are 0-6, right? But do people think they are, like, the absolute worst team? Because, I mean, at one point they were up 14-0 against the Dolphins, who are one of the best teams in football. Have the Patriots done something like that this year? No. The Patriots have, I mean, they almost came back against the Eagles in week 1. They kind of kept it close with the Dolphins. But, get blown out by the Cowboys, by the Saints, and then you lose that ugly game against the Raiders the other day. I mean, could the Panthers beat the Patriots? Maybe. Like, I don't know. It honestly is tough. Like, I mean, because we saw the Broncos come back and beat the Bears. The Patriots, I mean, their only win is against the Jets. And in that game, they put up 15 points. So, they could easily be a winless team. So maybe it is the Patriots. I think the Patriots might be the worst team in football. But, like, I feel like the Patriots could beat the Giants. I don't know. I feel like it's just like a cycle. Like this team could beat this team, but this team beats that team. It's like something like that. I don't know. I mean, the Panthers have put up some points in their games. Like, they put up 24 points against the Lions. Like I said, they were up 14-0 against the Dolphins. They could have beaten the Saints. I don't know. I don't know. They offensively, they look better than some of these teams that have one win. But again, not saying that much. I don't know. Honestly, I mean, the Giants, I mean, they haven't scored an offensive touchdown in 3 weeks. Like, their offense is so bad. But the other thing is their defense, maybe is starting to figure it out. Because, now they're forcing turnovers. So I don't really know. I honestly don't know. It's kind of tough to decide because there's quite a few of them that could definitely take the honor of that. I mean, the Bears, I don't know how they beat Washington. I really don't. And then against the Vikings, they do nothing. And it was frustrating for me as a fantasy manager because, Justin Fields was on my bench the last couple of weeks that he was playing really well. I start him, and then he gets hurt. And then it ended up being the reason why I lost my matchup. I lost by 2 points. He plays, I probably win that. So, but, and it looks like he's doubtful for week 7, so the Bears are going to continue to, have a bad season. And a lot of people said Justin Fields, bet Justin Fields to be the MVP. And how does that look? I thought he would be better. I mean, you're surrounded with DJ Moore. And, Darnell Mooney's, a decent receiver. Cole Kmet's a decent tight end. But, the Bears are a mess. I mean, I really don't know who you could say is the worst team in football. I mean, like the Patriots, maybe. Probably, I mean, it's probably either the Patriots, the Giants, or the Broncos. But then the Bears. I don't know. I honestly have no idea. You could make an argument for all these teams. Like with the Bears, like they're in. I mean, offensively they were good the last 2 weeks, but then a dud against the Vikings. The Patriots. I mean, their 1 wins against the Jets. They could very easily have no wins. Panthers are 0-6. Giants haven't scored an offensive touchdown in 3 weeks. The Broncos are getting worse and worse offensively. Their defense has also been very bad, although it was good against the Chiefs. So I honestly don't know. I really don't know because, like, I didn't mention the Bears, but the Broncos beat the Bears. Yeah, again, it's that wheel of this team beat this team, but I just I don't really know. There's a lot of bad teams. There's a lot of bad teams this year. So that's why, again, it's like you can make it's tough because you can make the argument for any of these teams why they're the worst team in football. Imagine being fan bases of those teams. I can. Yeah, and like, listen, I regarding that last play, like, I was just like, whatever, because they shouldn't have. They didn't deserve to win that game. Like, they made the boneheaded mistake of, running a play with no timeouts, trying to run the ball in, and then you couldn't spike it in time. Like, you gotta put up more than 9 points. You gotta score a touchdown, and that's something they just have failed to do. The offense just isn't good, and they don't have the quarterback. They don't. Tyrod Taylor is a serviceable backup, but he's a backup. And Daniel Jones, to me, is just not the answer. But, yeah, I mean, a lot of these teams, I mean, look at the Bears. Like, are the Bears going to move off of Justin Fields if they have the chance to? I think they might. The Patriots with Mac Jones. I mean, obviously Bryce Young, he's going to get another chance after this year. It's not like they're going to move off of him, although you never know. The Broncos, I mean, I don't know what the Broncos are going to do. I have no idea. I mean, they're starting to get rid of guys. I mean, it was just funny because, they they get rid of Frank Clark, right? Well, first the Chiefs get rid of Frank Clark, then the Broncos get him, they release him, and now he's going back to the Chiefs. Which I knew that you figured that was going to happen. So, and if I was him, I'd be like, listen, I'll do whatever it is to stay here. I don't want to go anywhere else. But yeah, it's just there are so many bad teams. Like you really can't decide. Because again, the Panthers have no wins, right? But are they really the worst team in football? I mean, you could probably say they are, but at least I know like they ended up getting, they lost by a lot against the Dolphins, but I mean, at least they were up 14-0. The Patriots, when have they been up 14-0 this year? When have the Giants done that? Never. I don't know. It's like I said, there's a lot of bad teams, but there's a lot of good teams. I don't really know who you could say is the Super Bowl favorite, because you can make the argument for a lot of teams. And a lot of teams, every team could be beat. There's no undefeated teams left. So, I don't know. It's going to be fun to, have this discussion. Obviously, it's not fun talking about bad teams, especially when one of the teams you root for is one of them. But, I don't know. We'll just have to, like I always say, we'll just have to wait and see. But, yeah, another week in the books. Week 7 is on the way. Obviously, later in the week we'll preview all the games, of course, for this week. Obviously, the game on Thursday, Saints-Jags. Trevor Lawrence is banged up, but I'm guessing he's going to play. But we'll see. So that should be an interesting. That's a big game I think for the Saints, because right now they haven't looked that good. But win here, that gets you, that closes the gap between you and the Bucs in the division race. But yeah, obviously we'll talk about the injury report, for this week, because there's a ton of injuries, and obviously we're not going to know everything by tomorrow, but we got some star players that got hurt, again this week. So yeah, that's basically the rundown for the week. And then obviously, Friday we'll have the double show, and hopefully I don't make the same mistake of, not having sound, and that goes smoothly. But yeah, that's basically it for the Patreon exclusive content. We got obviously we had some comments in the chat, talking about the Niners and of course the Commanders and what they can do. So that was much appreciated there. Again, that's really what it's all about, is the interaction between you guys and myself. So, yeah, that was nice to have that. But, yeah, that's basically it for the show today. Well, the Patreon portion of the show. Once again, I thank you guys for tuning in. And again, to get your comments recognized and to donate and tip during the show, again, it's on the ticker on the bottom. Go to streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. And that's how you can tip to the show. And then obviously this is the bonus content here with Patreon. So, but yeah, that's basically it for the show today. So once again, I'm Kenneth Grunfelder signing off from the GSMC Football Podcast, the Patreon exclusive content episode brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care, and I will see you then.